Welcome to episode 2 of Elykssor TV. We're keeping with the whole main theme in this one. Next to me I have Luke Livingston from Baxter Brewing in Lewiston. Baxter Brewing, if you're not familiar, is this great brewery out of Lewiston, Maine. And they, in their first year, shattered the, is it Barrels of Beer record? Barrels of Beer record that was previously 4,400, and you guys had what?
We brewed 5,040 barrels of beer in our first year.
So that's just amazing. And the first thing I wanted to ask you was, what was your motivation in creating Baxter?
I don't think I ever gave it, this is going to sound terrible, I don't think I ever gave it too much thought because all along throughout the entire process I was worried that if I thought about it too much, I'd just scare myself into not doing it. So I did my best to just kind of plow ahead. I think the catalyst for the whole idea was, and I mentioned this to you earlier off camera, but 3 years ago tomorrow, actually, my mom passed away from breast cancer, and she was young. She was 63 years old. And you know, it was one of those life's too short kind of eye-opening moments, and was unhappy in my day job. I was actually a college admissions counselor. And you know, decided whatever, got the rest of my life to pay off my bills if it doesn't work. Might as well give it a shot. Left my day job. She passed away in January, and it was April or May of 2009 that I left that job and published my business plan a couple months later. So,
you know, the first thing that struck me when I saw your beer, it was Memorial Day 2011, and I got a 6-pack of the Stowaway that we have over here that we brought with us. When I held it in my hand, I was like, this had a lot of thought and time and effort into it. What were you thinking as far as a demographic? What were you thinking of who do I want to drink my beer?
I think sort of two important points to point out. The first is, you know, as you said, it was kind of the culmination of the liquid, the can, the design, the mentality behind the brand. A lot of that is I've been very, very lucky in kind of surrounding myself with incredibly talented people at the brewery. What I did essentially was, and my previous, outside of my day job experience, was running a beer blog plus some home brewing for 3 or 4 years. And in that, learned a lot about the craft breweries that were kind of making waves on the West Coast and Colorado, both in general, but certainly the canned craft breweries too, and kind of took a look at what they were doing well and the culture that and brand identities that they were creating that I really felt was missing in Maine, at least on the large scale. There were a couple little guys doing some interesting stuff in the state, but there wasn't that true kind of West Coast feeling to many of the breweries in Maine, and I kind of wanted to fill that void culturally and brand identity, and then also you know, the liquid itself.
So you have three beers now, and the first one you ever did was the Stowaway, right?
Pomola Extra Pale Ale and Stowaway IPA pretty much came out simultaneously. Technically, the Pomola was first by a week. Okay,
so for the beer heads out there and the people that are really into that, explain the difference between the Stowaway and the Pomola, and then we'll move into the Amber Road.
For sure. Our first 2 beers were Pomola Extra Pale Ale, which is technically what's called a session beer. So it's sub 5% alcohol. You can session, meaning you can drink plenty of them over a drinking session. That's essentially what it comes down to.
I usually only have one, so it's okay.
But you could have more without getting too, you know, blitzed, if you will. And then the second beer that you mentioned, Stowaway IPA, is a big, true kind of West Coast style India Pale Ale. It's got 70 IBUs, International Bittering Units. It's the measurement of how bitter a beer is, and it's 7% alcohol, so it's a much bigger beer.
So you recently, and it was October or November, you came out with?
November 1st, we released our 3rd beer.
Amber Road.
Road.
Tell us about that.
Amber Road Amber Ale is kind of rounds out our year-round portfolio. It's a little bit more malt forward, but still very easy drinking, 5.5% alcohol. It's got a touch of hops to balance it, but it is much more, like I said, malt forward beer.
So you were telling me an interesting story, or funny story off camera. It was about how you got started brewing. You started pretty young when you were still at college, and you got caught with a homebrew kit or something?
Wasn't too young. I was 21.
Okay, so you're 21. He was 21.
For my 21st birthday, I got a homebrew kit from my older brother and was brewing in my dorm room. Didn't really think much of it, and left my brewing equipment in my room when I went home for Christmas break, and I came back second semester. My equipment was gone, and there was a note tacked to my door saying I did show up for a judicial hearing. And so I showed up for my judicial hearing, but I had the wherewithal, I guess, to bring my student handbook with me, and I had looked at it ahead of time, opened it up to the alcohol policy.
Yep.
Read through it, didn't say anything about brewing in the alcohol policy, so I get to my judicial hearing in front of the committee that was trying me for sins. and so I showed up with the student handbook and said, show me where it says I can't do what I was doing, and it was priceless. They looked at one another and looked back at me, and the look on their face, they're like, Shit. He's right. And but we kind of came to an agreement where they kept my equipment until the end of I got it back at the end of the school year, whatever. And came back my senior year, and they passed out fresh student handbooks to all the students. And I opened the alcohol section.
It was in there, right?
I opened the alcohol section, and it said very specifically.
So literally, he rewrote the rule book on brewing.
It now says there's no brewing of any alcohol in Clark property.
There you go. And another point, how that even goes farther than that, is that you started with just a homebrew kit in your dorm room.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to bring this up, but there's a magazine called Forbes. You may have heard of it. This fall, they released the top 30 under 30 people who are basically getting after whatever they get after. This man you were in there, right?
I was, one of the Forbes 30 under 30 most influential entrepreneurs in food and beverage for 2011. So.
There you go. So if you think he was just blowing smoke up your butt, he actually knows what he's talking about. So basically to the Elykssor side of things now. In February, we're going to be teaming up again or in April, excuse me. We're going to be teaming up with Luke here. We're going to do a concert probably for charity. Where if you didn't taste Baxter prior, you can come out, you can try some of their beer, see some great local music, so look for the updates for that. In February, we're going to do another pre-order. Since you guys loved them so much the first time, we're going to do hoodies again. But it's going to have a close connection for a hint to the Portland music scene, which is very near and dear to my heart and to Luke's too, and an official Elykssor shirt. So be on the lookout for that. From Elykssor to Baxter Brewing, thank you very much, Luke Livingston, for having you. Check them out, baxterbrewing.com, at Baxter Brewing for Twitter, and the Facebook is facebook.com/Baxter Brewing, right?
Yep.
Perfect. So now you know. Tune in next time for episode 3. We're going to have another special guest who's proud to be a Mainer. And thank you very much for Luke for coming on. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time on Elykssor TV.